Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey, Jason, John, Pauline, Dylan, Mel. Guys, last week before the All-Star break, Yankees in a free fall. Hate to see it.
They're back.
I need to see more than one win.
Two
wins.
Two wins.
One more and it's a winning streak, right?
Some would say two is a winning streak. Some who are really desperate.
Desperate. Some real desperate would say one's a winning streak.
That's one in a row.
Double it, you got two.
Yep.
Let's talk about the All-Star Game roster because there's a couple surprises on here, and there's one really big storyline coming out of the All-Star Game that I really want to talk about because I just don't understand the thinking behind it. So let's quickly just run through the roster. American League, you have Cal Raleigh, Vlad Guerrero, Gleyber Torres, Jose Ramirez, and Jacob Wilson. Catcher, and then your infield. Your outfield is Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Javi Baez. DH is Ryan O'Hearn. Your reserves, catcher Alejandro Kirk, Jonathan Aranda, Alex Bregman, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Brandon Lau, Jeremy Pena, and Bobby Witt Jr. are infielder reserves. Outfielder reserves, Byron Buxton, Stephen Kwan, Julio Rodriguez, and then DH Brent Rooker. Pitchers, you got Hunter Brown, Chris Bubich, Garrett Crochet, Jacob deGrom, Max Fried, Yusei Kikuchi, Tag Skubal, Shane Smith, Brian Wu are your starters. And then your relievers are Aroldis Chapman, Josh Hader, Andres Munoz. Anything stand out on the American League side of things?
I thought that the American League roster was decent. I don't think anything's ever going to be perfect. I thought Jazz Chisholm getting in was quite interesting. We had talked about it as a possibility on the show, I believe last week or the week prior. It was just on a normal year, he's not in. The AL second baseman pool was just so terrible that Jazz could miss a month and get in. But I know a lot of people were pretty upset about the fact that he had made it. Is what it is. I think it's not undeserved, but really fun to see Javi Baez get in as an outfielder. Just kind of the way his career has turned out. So those were the things that stood out to me.
Just Jazz Chisholm. I just feel like, because you don't really think of him, I guess, having like a crazy good year. No one's really,
I think of him having a crazy good year.
I know, but you don't hear. I'm not saying
he's just crazy productive when he plays. Yeah. He just missed a month. The Yankee fan of me also wants to bring up Carlos Rodon not being one of the pitchers. But I don't know if that's just the Yankees fan of me or if that's like a real legitimate snub.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. He's definitely deserving. Cody Bellinger is also deserving to be in that conversation. And you look at a guy like Julio Rodriguez, he has a .69 OPS. How are you an all-star with a below-average OPS?
And they have Wu and Munoz, so it wasn't even just to get a member of their team on.
They have Cal Raleigh.
Oh, yeah, duh. Brain fart. We're recording at 11 p.m. Give me a break, people.
So Julio being on the roster doesn't make much sense to me, especially because take out Bellinger, there's other more deserving options.
Yeah. No, I would agree there.
And then you go to the National League side of things. Your catchers, Will Smith, first through third, Freddie Freeman, Ketel Marte, Francisco Lindor, and Manny Machado. Outfield is Ronald Acuna Jr., who's actually just pulled with some back tightness, so that's going to be interesting to see. Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, DH Shohei Ohtani. Your reserves catcher Hunter Goodman. Infielders Pete Alonso, Ellie De La Cruz, Brendan Donovan, Matt Olson, Eugenio Suarez. Outfielders Corbin Carroll, Kyle Stowers, Fernando Tatis Jr., James Wood. DH Philly man Kyle Schwarber. Your pitchers are Matthew Boyd, Mackenzie Gore, Clayton Kershaw, who let's talk about him in a second. Freddie Peralta, Robbie Ray, Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Then your relievers are Jason Adam, Edwin Diaz, and Randy Rodriguez. Now there are some guys that are starting to trickle in and replace other starters. We'll cover them in a little while, but I really want to talk about Clayton Kershaw because he's not somebody who was selected by the players, the fans, the coaches. He was put on the roster as a legends pick by Rob Manfred. Well, how do you guys feel about that?
So the NBA did something similar to this a few years ago, and they had generally saved it for players that were on retirement tours. So I believe the first time they did it was the year Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki retired. And it was, again, similar to now how baseball is. The All-Star game in basketball is just for show and for fun. It doesn't count for anything. And they just wanted to get some of the better players all time in their sport in the game. And that's cool. I have no problem with it. When I saw it, my immediate thought was, I didn't know that Clayton Kershaw was retiring this year. And then, as we discussed pre-show and I looked further into it, I don't see anywhere that Clayton Kershaw is retiring. And now I'm just kind of the mindset of, are we just openly playing favorites if we're the commissioner? Are we just openly trying to win over the most popular team in terms of the Dodgers fan base and give them another all-star as if like they needed one? I don't want it to be seen as disrespect to Kershaw because obviously he's one of the game's all-time greats, but if he's not retiring this year, this is ridiculous in my estimation because why is Max Scherzer? Why is Justin Verlander not just legend picks? Because they're of the same stature of Kershaw, basically.
It doesn't make sense. It's if he was retiring, I get it. But even then, like All-Star game nods are a stat for Cooperstown. It devalues it when you add a legend pick. You can make him an ambassador to the All-Star game where he doesn't get a nod as an All-Star, but he's still honored and part of the festivities. But to put him on the
I don't
roster,
even hate the legend pick if he was retiring because obviously all-star numbers matter, but Kershaw's had so many that one more or one less, I don't think really changes the way you look at him at this
I was
point.
going
But
to say that.
but if he doesn't retire next year, are we just going to give him a second legend pick again?
Right.
Like are you just going to start stacking them at this point would be my concern.
Maybe this is them encouraging him to hang it up. Like, hey, you got your legend pick. This is your he's on a 1-year deal with the Dodgers. Maybe they tell him that they're not picking him up. He's not going to go anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, healthy, they don't have room for him in that rotation, if we're being honest.
Now we also have two guys that are added to the All-Star game: Cincinnati lefty Andrew Abbott and Padres reliever Rangers Robert Suarez. They're replacing Yamamoto and Chris Sale are both not participating. So they're getting replaced, and I'm sure we'll see more of that. Who's your biggest snub that you guys kind of see?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think
it's Trey Turner. Trey Turner.
Oh.
Trey Turner. No, and me and John.
Suarez possibly too.
Me and John have been on this for weeks now. Trey Turner is a ridiculous snub to not even be on the roster, I think. Trey Turner is currently 8th in baseball in F WAR, which is actually higher than Lindor and Ellie De La Cruz, so it's higher than both of the shortstops in the NL. Trey Turner has been better defensively than both of those guys this year, I would say.
Actually, Lindor and Turner have the same amount of errors, but Ben will sit here and say Lindor is better.
Yeah, I would say that they've been the same. I would also say that Trey Turner's been the engine for the Phillies team. You could certainly make that case for Schwarber as well, but as Bryce Harper has missed time, Trey Turner has really stepped up and started living up to what the expectation was for him coming to Philadelphia, and I think it's a shame that he's not in there. Similar to the way that the AL figured out a way to get Bobby Witt Jr. in, I think that the NL should have found a way to get Trey Turner in. Because I look at this team and I look at their all-stars, I mean, legend pick, sure. But you look at some of just their infielders, and this is no shade towards these people, but in terms of their reserves. But Brendan Donovan, Matt Olson, Eugenio Suarez, give me Trey Turner over all of them. Those are bench pieces. They're not starting.
It's just insane when you have a guy batting almost 300 on the season and batting almost 300 with runners in scoring position, leading the league in hits with shortstops as Trey Turner has, and he's not on the team.
Yeah,
That's insane. Like, he didn't even make it to second round of voting either, which is absolutely crazy too.
I mean, that was just the Dodger fans voting Mookie Betts.
Yeah, and what's crazy to me is when I do look at the starters or even like the bench players, I know that each team has to get somebody on the team, which I do think is a ridiculous participation trophy rule, which is how Kyle Stowers got in. But man, if I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm kind of pissed that Andy Pages didn't get on this team. Like, in terms of a more deserving all-star from this point of the season, like, Pages deserves to be on that roster at this point in time. And listen, I don't want to be the guy that comes up here and goes to war for the Dodgers, but that's another snub that I'd be mad at.
How about the guy that leads baseball in RBIs?
Yeah, that's not a good one.
Suzuki with the Cubs leads the league in RBIs with 77.
That's crazy too.
That's I thought you guys were going to go there and not Trey Turner, because I think that's the biggest snub.
Well, we've been hammering Trey Turner, so
plus I'm a Phillies fan. I'm not a Cubs
fan. I also think Juan Soto had an argument. I don't think that he is a massive snub, but I do think that he had an argument. I think that despite his batting average, the analytics will show that he's been a pretty productive player this year. And then we talked about Rodon a little bit earlier, but I think if you are looking at it, Rodon with a 3.3 ERA at this point, he's been pretty solid this year. I think he certainly could have made the push. Again, this could just be the Yankees fan in me, but a 3.3 ERA, 127 strikeouts, that's good enough for sixth in all of the majors right now. He's been really, really solid for the Yankees, who have needed him to step up. A 2.2 WAR, which isn't really that amazing. But also Christopher Sanchez on the Phillies. You were saying Ranger Suarez.
Sub 2 ERA.
I would take Sanchez over him just because Suarez hasn't pitched as much, and Sanchez has really held it down. A 2.59 ERA, 7-2 record, and a 4.1 WAR at the pitcher position. So the Phillies get snubbed a few times. The Dodgers, even in their midst of having a billion all-stars, somehow one of their more deserving players doesn't get on the team.
Honestly, I blame the Phillies fans for all these players getting snubbed because they didn't vote him in the first. They didn't vote Trey Turner in and stuff, because I've never seen a team's fan base hate their star players more than the Phillies fans do. Absolutely insane. First in the NL East, I think like second or third in all the NL, and they just hate their team. Absolute insanity.
It's kind of funny, but it's just that Philly mentality of what have you done for us lately?
Stupid.
Well, what has Trey Turner done for you lately? He's carried you in the first half of the season.
Well, according to the Phillies fans online, Trey Turner's batting like just above 200 runners in scoring position, but he's actually batting almost 300. So I don't know.
Well, isn't Trey Turner also
he's leadoff?
Yeah, Trey Turner's the guy who's on base. Trey Turner is the runner in scoring position most of the time.
And he's still batting almost 300 with
he's batting 299 with 11 homers from your leadoff spot, second on the team in homers in your leadoff spot. He has 39 RBIs, which again isn't very high, but it's good enough for fourth on the team at leadoff. He's got 22 stolen bases at this point in time, so he's on pace for close to 40. He by far leads the team in WAR with a 3.1, a 798 OPS. Like, at a certain point, guys, 61 runs.
And they couldn't get him to the second round of All-Star voting.
No.
Yeah, Ben made a case for Ellie last week, and I Ben's not on to defend it, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I think Trey Turner I think Lindor starting over him is fine. It wouldn't have been my ballot, but I don't have a massive gripe with it. But to me, they were the clear 1 and 2.
Now, if you had to kick somebody off the roster to get Trey Turner on, who would it be? It looks like it would have to be between Ellie De La Cruz and.
I mean, if I'm allowed to just kind of throw a little bit of the positional out the window, Brendan Donovan would probably be the guy that I remove, and he's having a fine season. I think he's the only All-Star for St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken. So
he is kind of locked in.
Technically, I'm not allowed to get rid of him, I suppose. I would remove Ellie then. But is he the only All-Star for the Reds? No, Andrew Abbott, who just was added.
Yeah.
So Ellie out, Abbott in.
And it's like Ellie will make the All-Star team plenty of times in his career.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that reasoning in terms of if he was having a better season than
But if
Trey
you had to
Turner,
remove a guy.
But I just think that Trey's having a better season than him, and that's why we should remove him for Trey Turner. I also think like you could, if you wanted to keep Ellie, you could move Eugenio Suarez because again they have Corbin Carroll in the reserves. They have Ketel Marte starting.
Is Corbin Carroll hurt still?
I mean,
is he even going to be able to play?
I didn't see a replacement for him, but he's an outfielder, so they won't replace him with Trey.
Or you can replace Trey Turner. You can replace Kyle Schwarber with Trey Turner, right? Why do you need a backup DH?
You could, and I wouldn't mind that either because I would stand on the point of I think that Trey's been better than Schwarber this year, but it's close.
I was honestly a little bit surprised Schwarber made it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how weak the DH role has been.
Yeah.
Who do you guys think is going to be the pitching matchup?
The managers are Dave Roberts and
Aaron Boone.
And Boone. How did Boone get it?
He was in the World Series last year.
Series.
Oh, is that how they do it now? They don't do best record?
No, it's just whoever the.
I don't know if they ever did that.
I mean, who it should be is Scooble should start, but since it's Boone, maybe he'll give it to Fried.
See, I think Fried is like the third option because I feel like Crochet might deserve it a little bit more than Fried too.
No shot Boone goes with a Red Sox pitcher.
No, I mean it's got to be Scooble.
Yeah, it's got to be. It'll be Scooble then Fried. I mean, it's Dave Roberts, and there's a legend pick for a reason. Like, do you not just throw Clayton Kershaw out there to open the game? Like, what are you gonna have him pitch the 5th inning as your legend pick? Like, I don't know. I
don't think he should get any action at all. He didn't earn it.
I mean, it should be Skeen Scooble. That's who it should be.
I have a hot take that Skeens might not be the right one for the NL.
What?
What do you think? I'm thinking I may be Wheeler.
Wheeler's who I'm thinking.
Wheeler.
Why?
Wheeler has been awesome this year. Skins has been great. Don't get me wrong, but I think Scooble Wheeler might be the move. Let me pull up Wheeler's stats here.
Disagree. I mean, Paul Skeens 1.94 ERA, Zach Wheeler 2.17 strikeouts. Wheeler leads 148 to 125. WAR Skeens 4.8, Wheeler 4.8. It's close. I guess I would still lean Skeens.
It's a lot more of a competition. It's a lot more of an argument than you thought.
It's more of an argument than I thought, but I also think if you're baseball man, you want it to be Skeens. If I'm Rob Manfred, I want Skeens Judge first inning of the All-Star game.
Then again, if Pittsburgh isn't going to do anything, what does Skeens do starting that helps you market more than Zach Wheeler in Philly? Unless he's going to be tossed around as a trade option.
We know that he ain't spending that career in Pittsburgh. We know.
I mean, it's not like Libby Dunn's from Jersey and is a big
Yankee family. When Paul Skeens is wearing that Dodger hat in 1 year, we know.
Dodger hat.
Yeah, listen, I think Skeens I think if I'm Rob Manfred, I want it Skeen Scooble. If I'm Dylan Mel, I want it Skeen Scooble. If I'm Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone, I might just say, like, screw it all. Clayton Kershaw, Max Fried.
Honestly, that might be a bigger story than Skeen Scoop.
Aroldis Chapman versus Edwin Diaz. Dual openers.
That'd be something.
Listen, I just don't think baseball could pass up on the opportunity of Skeen's judge again.
We also got to look at, when these guys' spots in the rotation come up, because these guys are not going to be gifted by their managers. Maybe Skeens would be, but Scooble's in a race for the pennant.
Yeah.
They're not going to skip a start to let him start the All-Star game, right?
Well, they're only going to get, an inning?
Right, so maybe they'll try to set it up where it's his throw day, but if it's not like a day he would normally throw, they might not want to risk it.
I mean, you could throw an inning.
We thought that in the past and have seen guys not throw an inning because their managers were asked to not.
I mean, if I'm Aaron Boone, I'm throwing Scooble the whole game. I'm the manager.
Putting Crochet at shortstop just to mess with him up a little bit.
Yeah. Best of luck, pal. No. But I think you can get an inning out of these guys. I think if you are baseball too, like, you don't want to see these guys not pitch.
Because if that's the case, like, and you're just having these top
if that's
pitchers
the
sit
case,
out,
like,
what's the point?
Yeah,
then?
sit out and let somebody else pitch then that, like, wants to be in the game.
Yeah.
Like, don't just go there and then not play.
Any predictions for who's going to be the All-Star Game MVP? Well, how about this? Which side's going to win and who's the MVP?
Oh, it usually just takes one good hit to be the MVP.
Yeah.
I like it's not my prediction, but the funniest outcome is AL Javi Baez. I'll say AL, and I'll say Josh Hader has a 1-2-3 ninth to close out a 4-3 victory and wins the MVP.
John?
Hear me out here. NL wins, and it's going to be Genio Suarez is going to be the MVP.
Future Yankee.
I have a feeling he's gonna hit a game-winning home run.
I'm going AL, and I'm going to go Brent Rooker. I think it'd be really funny to see an A win this. And I feel like he's going to hit a homer or a double late to knock in a big run.
Fair enough.
I really wanted to write Jazz.
I think that's also one of the funniest outcomes. The guy that, like, so many people don't think should be in it wins the MVP.
Exactly. Before Boone announced today that Jazz was going to play second base exclusively, and he was our third baseman, it would have been really funny if he decided to play him at second base during the All-Star game.
Yeah, great move, Boone. Great move.
So, moving on to the home run derby, we have a couple more participants. We spoke about Acuna. We spoke about Raleigh.
Is Acuna doing it? He's out the All-Star game with tightness in his back now, you said.
No, he's not out of the All-Star game. He got removed from today's game.
Oh, okay. So we'll see.
So it's something to monitor. So Acuna and Raleigh are committed. We'll see about Acuna. James Wood said he's in. That's a name we brought up.
Yep.
Byron Buxton, O'Neal Cruz.
I brought up O'Neal
That's a name John brought up.
Yeah, I got crap for that too.
Well, it was a name that I didn't like, and I still don't like it. So I'm sure he'll win it.
Saw those videos of random 10-year-old in the outfield when O'Neal Cruz is up and just getting his head taken off on a line drive.
Yeah, I didn't like O'Neal Cruz, so I'm sure he'll win it.
3 more spots, though.
Are we? No. 2 AL, 1 NL, right? That's what we're looking at, and potentially 2 NL, based on what happens with Acuna.
Right.
Have we had any more declines? Like, is Schwarber still eligible for this?
Schwarber said no. I think
Swarmer
Alonso
said
said no. So like they're running out of guys here. You go
Brett
to what the
Rooker, I
Seiya
think, might be an
Suzuki.
option now.
Guys loving Brent Rooker. What about Jazz? Let's get Jazz
So
in there.
I brought Jazz up last week.
Yeah.
I think Jazz is a very realistic option at this point.
Yeah. I mean, listen, to be fair, Kyle Raleigh, Acuna, Wood, O'Neal Cruz, Buxton, like they got 5 big names, even if these next 3 are kind of like,
Right.
like it's still a pretty like solid cast of guys, I'd say.
Who could be a legend pick for this? We're gonna go Kershaw in the All-Star game.
A
Bullshit.
legend pick. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton.
Stanton.
I mean, like
bullshit.
I don't think Stanton wants to do it because I think his elbows can barely handle swinging the bat a regular amount of times, let alone what that would do. But sure, like I guess
I just realized if
I don't know if there's a legend pick for this. Like I think they're willing to take anybody they could get.
Altuve.
Like I'm sure if Altuve wanted to do it right now and reached out, like they'd have him do it. Like he's a big enough name.
I just realized though that if they're giving Kershaw a legend pick for the All-Star game, why wouldn't they do it for Verlander or Scherzer?
Yeah, that's like what I was saying earlier. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And like, why is there a legend pick for the NL and not the AL? Like if it was something you wanted to insure,
is it just one like
once
overall?
they get an extra spot now.
Yeah, like what?
I mean, it's for pitcher.
Okay, but like this is what I'm saying. Like it just doesn't make sense.
It's just weird.
When I look at other potential Derby people, I try and look at guys that are already going to be there anyways.
PCA.
So, PCA could be one, but
he said no. He said no already.
Did he say no already?
Yeah, I believe he said no already.
We need 2 guys in the AL. I like Jazz. I like Brandon Lau. I like Brenton Rooker. Those are guys that are already for sure going to be there. When I look at the NL, Baez could be fun. we need one more, maybe Matt Olson. They're in Atlanta. Maybe he wants to take a crack at it. I feel like that would have already been announced if he wanted to do it, though. Yeah. Maybe since they gifted Ellie De La Cruz that spot, he could at least repay them and do the Derby as well.
Trey Turner, maybe this is what he
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner.
If I was Trey Turner and I got that text, I would respond with the middle finger emoji. Maybe Will Smith.
2 catchers.
I mean, they're good, but they're going to be there. Eugenio Suarez too.
I think
Rafi Devers
more likely.
I mean, is
he's
he
not
a
on the
snub?
team.
I know. Is he a snub? I don't know because it's like where would he have played? But he's a good choice.
Did Tatis say yes, sir? Would he do it?
I mean, if he'd do it, like I feel like they definitely already asked him. Like, maybe they're just waiting on an answer. But
yeah, he said no. He cited oblique cramps and wanted to be ready for the team's playoff push.
Yeah, so
just a lot of guys saying no this year. I feel like more than past years.
A lot of them are citing the format, which I fully support because I don't know about you guys, but when I think of the home run derby, I'm thinking Josh Hamilton, Justin Morneau, Vlad Guerrero, 10 outs. Just
exactly
take your time and mash.
Yeah, I mean, the good old days.
I don't know why
the time with the outs. It's not conducive to a fun derby, in my opinion, compared to the let them take their time and actually try to win, as opposed to getting lucky that their endurance is so high.
I think like this was part of baseball's attempt of like changing the pace of the game, which was like change the pace of the derby. But the people that watch the derby are already your biggest fans. And if a casual is watching the derby, like, and they're just there watching a run of home runs, like they're not going to get bored. They're going to like, if Cal Raleigh hits 11 home runs in a row, like that's not going to bore them. Like they're not gonna be like yawn, like click, like they'll be like, oh my god, look at this guy go.
But like, think about the drama behind. Raleigh's got 9 outs, needs one more home run to tie Byron Buxton,
Yeah, oh yeah. Like it's a
and he takes a
it's
pitch.
it's a way more inducive. Well, this is even what we talked about during the original pitch clock too, where we said, will they have it during the playoffs? And we had that whole debate because the playoff moment extending as long as possible, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. I think like the same thing could be said for the Derby.
I actually just when I was doing my research for this, I got a notification on MLB.com. Hey, can you take a 10-minute survey about the league? So I said sure, and a couple of the questions were about the pitch clock and a lot of that stuff. And I made sure they knew what I thought about the pitch clock, the ghost runner. What is it?
I'm actually like
offs.
I actually like the Ghost Runner for the rig. I like the Ghost Runner rule the way that it is.
I feel
believe
like
the
it should be
person
pushed
who
back and it didn't.
I think
I
like during the 162, having a Ghost Runner is fine, and not just depleting a bullpen with a 22 inning game that really counts for nothing.
I
Not
can get
nothing, but
behind the
nothing on the
Ghost
large
Runner.
scale.
I think it should be the
can get behind the
11th
Ghost Runner.
inning though instead of the 10th.
I was gonna say if you get like 12th or 13th inning, then you want to do the Ghost Runner, fine. But starting it off in the 10th, the 11th, like give a team an actual chance to win it in extras first.
I mean, I just am gonna disagree on like the grain here. Like, get these games, just get in and get out of these games that are in extra innings in the regular season.
The only new rule that I fully can get behind is the bigger bases.
I
And
mean, they need to just add an extra base on the first base line too.
I was just about to say having the safety bag is also a very big thing because it doesn't take away from the game and it only adds safety. And we've seen so many collisions that are just
It's like very similar to like the handguard that they wear when stealing bases. Like that doesn't take away from anything. It's just to make it safer.
Right. Like you have replay now. You have if
but not truck sticking the catcher and completely obliterating them.
Think Buster Posey ruined baseball because of that. Get some more milk, get some stronger bones. You don't get me started on Buster Posey.
Yeah, we're already a half hour into the podcast. Let's not spend 45 minutes on Buster Posey.
I could. But so we got a couple names. We'll see next week. Obviously, next time we, put another show out, All-Star game, and the Derby will be over. But who do you think's going to win the Derby out of the 5 names we have now? Or if you want to throw in a surprise one that isn't in the Derby yet?
I think somehow, despite me, O'Neal Cruz is going to win the home run derby.
John?
I would say O'Neal Cruz too, but I'm going to switch it up though because I want to pick the same one as Dylan here.
You can if you want.
No, you know what? I'm going to go with my man Byron Buxton because I was for him for the All-Star team. So,
Can't wait for Byron Buxton to somehow get hurt during the home run derby, and then we have to change the rules again.
So he talked about how the reason he said yes to the Derby was because his son asked him to. He said his son's a big MLB The Show player and loves playing the home run derby. And he was begging his dad, saying, hey, please do this. I want to run out of towel and Gatorade to you. That's all I want to do. So it would be really funny if his son bumped into Buxton.
Oh, my God.
Hurt during the home run derby.
That's insane hating.
I don't even hate. I like Buxton a lot, but he is made out of glass.
Oh, yeah. I'm not hoping that anything bad happens.
No, I don't hope it happens. I hope he has a great derby. You guys chose 2 of the 3 names that I would say I would believe in the most to win. Usually the favorite to win, which would be Acuna and Raleigh, don't usually perform as well. It's usually a next tier lower guy. So I'm going to go James Wood. I brought him up last week. I thought he would be a really great addition. But the 3 names we said, I think, are the 3 most likely.
There's no lines out for it yet either. I tried to look.
Right, and not until there's a full field, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think Cal Raleigh's got like a real decent shot too. I'm interested to see which side of the plate he hits from.
He's going to switch. He's going to do it, which is interesting because the only other player to do it was Adley Rutschman. So to have two catchers be the only switch hitters to switch hit in the Derby would be pretty funny. But guys, let's talk a little moment of the week. For me, Cubs hit 8 home runs against the Cardinals on the 4th of July. It's a Cubs record. Fireworks.
Do you think the balls were juiced on the 4th of July? I have like a conspiracy that they were.
Oh, probably. Without a doubt.
That Mets-Yankees game had a ton of home runs. The Cubs in a big spot with I think that they juiced the balls on the 4th of, which, by the way, I'm all for. 0 complaints. It was just like I think it happened. Similar to like the London series, the Field of Dreams. Like I think when they
the
thought
London series with the Yankees and Red Sox,
when they think eyes are going to be on them, I think they juice the balls.
That Yankees Red Sox series was the most juice ball series I've ever seen.
Yeah,
outside of the juice ball year, because I remember there was one home run that Todd Frazier hit. I think it was in the playoffs too, that he just kind of flicked his wrist and it just went over the short porch.
Yeah, I think that they were juiced on the 4th of July, but I have no complaints about it.
But Michael Busch had 3 home runs, and then Pete Crow Armstrong hit another 2.
Nice.
That's 5 of the 8 home runs for the Cubs. Pretty great day, especially if you're a Cub fan at that game versus your hated rival, the Cardinals. And funny enough, 3 times now in Cubs history have they had a player hit 3 home runs versus the Cardinals. All 3 times happened on the 4th of July.
That's
so it's pretty crazy how it's pretty coincidental that they've all done it on the same holiday too.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my bet from the beginning of the season of Cubs over 87.5 wins.
Yeah,
put 1.5 units on it. So,
yeah,
I'm really balled out on that one. My moment of the week happened tonight. Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge, both homer in the same game. Yankees Mariners kicks off the 2 AL MVP frontrunners, if you want to word it that way. I just think they're competing for a home run title, but whichever way you want to talk about it, both homering in a big spot, Yankee Stadium right before the All-Star break. It was an exciting game.
My moment of the week is also from the night that we're recording today. Is Brandon Young threw an immaculate inning, top of the 5th against the Mets, striking out Winker, McNeil, and Terrans. So, and he's a rookie too. So,
any excuse to pile on the Mets.
And glaze.
What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
Gonna clip this and send it to Ben.
Into the umpire made some bad calls.
Not here. I mean, Ben's out there doing the hardworking man's work, so we respect it. But when he's not here to defend the Mets, we'll take shots.
Thinking about Judge and Raleigh, I kind of realized they lead the majors in home runs. In the American League, again, Raleigh 35, 36
now.
Judge 34.
Yep.
The next American League on the player on the list would be Riley Green at 22.
Yeah, we talked about this last week when we were deciding who we thought should be in the home run derby. Maybe this was 2 weeks ago, and it is really just a 2-man race.
And at least growing up, you never thought of the NL as being like the big power side. They always had a lot of great players, but the American League had, A-Rod, Poppy, like these big, mashers that would always lead the leaderboard.
Yeah, in no way to discredit what Cal Raleigh is doing.
None at all.
Man, if he wasn't having this outlier season for him, I don't think the MVP in the AL would be available to wager on.
I mean, it should have been that way last year too, and they still created some Bobby Witt discourse.
Yeah, it's already over. I got to be honest, for the foreseeable future, you might as well just take Judge at the beginning of the season when it's 2-1 and just hope he stays healthy.
Who ends their career with more MVPs, Judge or Ohtani?
I mean, if Ohtani gets back to pitching, but I don't know how good he's going to be and what level we're going to see. I would lean Ohtani right now just because he currently has more, right? I'm not crazy about that he does.
I just feel like
he has one more.
just feel like they're enamored with Otani too. So he's just like he might get a little more leeway with votes too, even though he may not deserve it. Maybe like in like future seasons.
Yeah, I think I'm right there. I think what he has
3.
has 4. He has 4
Is it 4
MVPs.
now?
Yeah. Because wait,
No, it's
I think Google's got a. Oh yeah,
I
it's
just
3.
googled it and it said 4,
It
but
says
I was
nominee.
pretty sure
Yeah,
Judge wanted- Judge
they
wanted one
put.
of those.
Yeah, and Judge has 2. It's 3-2. I don't know why
Judge-
Google has
Judge should
nominee
have
listed
3.
for some of them.
Judge
Judge
should
has
have
2.
3 though.
You can make the case. I would say that Otani probably finishes with more, just because I think as a pitcher, like once he's dual threat again, they're just gonna start handing them to him.
Yeah. All right. So Yankees Mets played this weekend. The Mets won the series. Although it was more, I would rather, win the series when both teams are playing well as opposed to when one of the teams is playing really poorly. I think that's more impressive. That's just
You're like alone on the standpoint there. I mean, I'm all for piling on the Mets and discrediting them, but I'm not going to say that they shouldn't be happy about winning the series.
no. I'm just saying it's more impressive to win when both teams are playing well.
Sure, I suppose.
I'm not going to discredit. They won the series. Good for them. But the Yankees weren't playing their best, so call it what it is.
I mean, I don't even know what the Yankees' best is anymore.
It's not very good. It's not good enough. Mets 4-2 since the last show. 2-1 versus Milwaukee. 2-1 versus the Yankees. 52-38 overall. They're 1 game back of Philly. 2.5 up on the wild card. They're 5-5 in their last 10. I don't know if the Mets what they need to do because their pitching staff this weekend, it seems piecemeal. Senga's coming back on Friday, I believe it is. Manaya, they're saying, is eventually going to come back.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a rotation that can hold up much longer. It's kind of duct taped together.
I think like they've done a great job for the first half of the season, but they need to acquire 1 to 2 starters.
But not like back end starters. They need like actual like.
I think like you could do fine with a depth piece and a guy that you believe could be like if you got DeGrom and
I mean,
like just some rant. Well, I'm just saying like you could be fine with I even think if you just went out and got Heaney and Severino, you'd be fine.
See, I was thinking like Heaney and a Zach Gallen.
Yeah, Gallen would be better than Severino in my estimation.
Right.
So, but I do think at this point in the season, and because I want to talk about it with the Mets before I just sound like a really privileged complaining Yankees fan. I think if your team is World Series viable, when we talk about what you need at the deadline, it's not what you need to potentially go on a run. It's what you need to be viewed as a World Series favorite. Not the favorite, but a favorite. And if the Mets went out and really boosted up this rotation, that would get them back to where we were talking about them in May and June as perennial favorites to go to the World Series and win this division. Right. So I just want to clarify here that for the team talk, when we talk about Mets, Yankees, and Phillies, when I say need, like that's where I'm going to be addressing. Like
I think that's a really good classifier because all 3 teams are teams that should make the playoffs. So we're not talking about making a run to get to the playoffs. We're talking making an actual run in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What they need to do. Like I think the Mets also could use a catcher.
Yeah, I don't think that's like I like Alvarez, so I don't think
I do too, but I don't like him this year. I think this year is
if I was the Mets, all of my focuses would be on that starting pitching. I think the lineup proved last year what they could do in a playoff run. And now you add Juan Soto to it. So I would feel really good if I was the Mets about just go get 2 starting pitchers and fill out a rotation for come playoffs. Again, you only need 4 starting pitchers like Senga. We'll see where Manaea is at. How much faith do you have in Holmes? Ideally, you'd like to move Holmes to the bullpen to be a long reliever, just because he could play that role. Obviously, playing relief for the Yankees for all that time. I like Peterson, so I don't completely mind having him. But how do you trust the health of Manaea and Senga? I would like to get 2 arms just to at least have like a buffer.
And then
One of them has to be a guy that you trust to throw playoff innings.
Then obviously every team that is looking to make a World Series run just needs bullpen. There's no such thing as too many bullpen arms.
No, absolutely not. They're fine at closer with Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
They're fine there, but they just need some middle arms, and need is like a strong word. I think that they have fine guys at the bullpen, especially when you consider the fact that like they would be moving a Clay Holmes to the bullpen. A Tyler McGill could come out of the bullpen. Obviously we mentioned Diaz has been really solid for them. AJ Minter in some short work has been decent for them if they could have him out there for the playoffs. So I think that they have a decent bullpen, but again, like you mentioned, you can never have too many arms.
Now the Phillies are 4-3 since last week. They went 2-1 versus San Diego, 2-1 versus Cincinnati, and then 0-1 versus San Fran. 53-38 overall. Half game. They're about a game up on the Mets. 6-4 in their last 10. Obviously, Trey Turner not an all-star. Kyle Schwarber is an all-star. John, how are we feeling right now with the small lead over the Mets?
I mean, I would like the lead to be a little bigger here, but I mean, they're winning series and stuff. I mean, their starting pitching has looked fantastic. Excuse me there. I mean, their starting pitching has looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, the past like week or so, I think their starting pitching has really been the star for this Phillies team right now. I mean, what they really need to look at though is they relief pitching still.
They need a closer.
And they need a closer desperately. And the bats, the bats have to start to get going. It always seems it's either the bats are going really well and they're really hot, or their pitching is really good. And it just seems like if it's like they can only be good one at a time. They're never like really good at the same time.
They have all the tools to put it together. I was looking at their lineup thinking like, are there moves that they can make? I think maybe like around the edges, getting just another outfielder because Kepler hasn't been great for you guys. And there's obviously some level of question marks, maybe another first baseman to just kind of subside Bryce Harper, whether like a Ryan Mountcastle or O'Hearn's available that you could get him into play sometime. The starting pitching, you don't even need to bring in anybody if we're being completely honest. Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, Suarez as your 4-man playoff rotation is great. Even if you had to go to Nola, I know he hasn't had a great year, but and obviously that's an understatement, but he's a guy that's had some success at the playoff level. And then when it comes to going into a playoff run, Matt Strahm, Orion Kirkring, those are guys that I still believe in. Romano, I think, is a fine bullpen arm, but I wouldn't want him closing out a 3-2 playoff game. And that is the biggest area of need for the Phillies. I'd be calling up the Twins, trying to get Duran. I'd be calling up
the Pirates, trying to get Bednar.
I'd try and call up Seattle, try and get Munoz. I'd be calling frantically around the league for a closer because the pieces are there for Philadelphia. And if they could just confidently feel like they could close out a game, that'd be massive for them.
Do you think the Phillies will look to trade players off of the actual major league roster at the deadline to get better?
I can see them moving on from a couple of guys, honestly. Because
do you think Alabama is a realistic trade candidate?
I think Alabama, and honestly, hearing me out with this, just because of the way I don't like the way they do this, because I really feel like Stott should get everyday at bats, and I feel like if you're not going to give Stott everyday at bats, you got to move on. because he's just sitting there wasting. You're wasting him. Like if you're just gonna sit
Man,
there and have him keep splitting time with Sosa,
I don't think that I would trade any of those guys away,
but
man. The second you do it, there's going to be an injury. You just know it. At least that's just how my brain is trained to think at this point in time. But I would rather move on from Bohm, let Stott develop, and play Sosa at third because he's very capable at that
and
spot.
they even have Kemp there up now who can play third also, and I can also see them maybe moving like Marsh or Rojas around for somebody, and
Yeah,
then trading for just another like outfielder somewhere on the line because there's a plethora of outfielders available that you can get on a rental.
yeah, for sure.
All right, Yankees, since our last show, are 1-6, not counting today's win.
2-6. 2-6.
0-4 versus Toronto, which was a massive sweep. 1-2
Yeah,
versus
Toronto's on a 10-game win streak too. I think like that's worth mentioning that they've just been really, really good.
49-41, 3.5 games back at Toronto.
Yeah.
When we had our last episode, right, the Yankees were 1.5 games up on Toronto. Now they're 3.5 back in a span of a week. They are 1 game up on the first wild card, 3-7 in their last 10 games. It's been abysmal, but I keep seeing the Yankees are back. They beat the Mets on Sunday thanks to Cody Bellinger's heads up shoestring catch, throw him out at first double play to get Lindor.
Yeah.
And then you have today's beatdown on the Mariners, who had not given up a run in 29 innings, I believe.
Yeah, the thing is the lineup, they need a third baseman. It doesn't need to be the greatest third baseman in the world. Obviously, shoot for the stars, and Eugenio Suarez would make the lineup the most dangerous lineup in the AL if it's not already. I still think even at their best, the Yankees lineup is the best in the AL when they're performing at their highest level. But you add a guy like Suarez, there's no doubt about it. But I think you could go a couple different ways. I think you could certainly acquire a backup level third baseman and kind of just have him be a starter. Even if they went and got a Yoan Moncada to at bat 8th or 9th in the lineup, honestly, I would just be satisfied with an everyday third baseman that I feel like you could trust at this point in time. I'm not high on Arenado, but the defense is still there and he fits the timeline of the team. So I wouldn't be completely unexcited by the move, depending on what the cost of it is. The massive thing for the Yankees is not only do they still need bullpen arms, but with the Clark Schmidt injury and Tommy John and him being done for the year, they now need a starter. And I'm going to say just one because I think Will Warren, Ryan Yarbrough, and Marcus Stroman are good enough to eat regular season innings, and this team could win games with 2 of them pitching on the back end of things, and you see what you can get out of Will Warren and give him like a full real season to develop. But I don't want Will Warren pitching a playoff game. Not at all. Like Max Fried, Carlos Rodon as your first 2 in a playoff series is excellent. Luis Gil is coming back, and you question what he could handle workload wise. At least we did last year. Now he doesn't have to pitch a full season, so he should be fine come postseason. But they have to get another arm that you could trust in playoff spots. I think on the low end, a Justin Verlander, buy low and see what you get. I'm not completely opposed to it, but I think on the high end, a Zach Gallen, and go into next year with a really strong rotation. But the bullpen is the number one priority. Tim Hill, been solid. Their only lefty at the bullpen. I trust Fernando Cruz.
If he ever comes back.
Yeah.
Enough, though. He's out a while.
Yeah, I like I said, I trust him. Weaver and Devin Williams have been really bad at this point in time, but I like to think it's just a cold stretch for Weaver, especially, and those will be trustworthy guys come late in the season. I mean, if they're not, like it's cooked as it is, but they need 1 to 2
They
really
need
strong
Duran more
bullpen.
than any team in baseball.
I disagree that they need Duran specifically. I think that they'd be fine getting just some available relief pitching.
I will be very disappointed if we get Dennis Santana because we ran down that rabbit hole already. We've been there.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I certainly wouldn't love it. I'm trying to look up relief pitchers here that could potentially be available for trade. ESPN's not making it
I would have
perfectly
loved
easy.
Alexis Diaz before he got traded to the Dodgers because he's an arm I believe in. But I mean, depends on if the Cardinals decide they do want to sell because Ryan Helsley would be an option.
Yeah, that's a name that I'd look at, and that's kind of back to what I was talking about with Arenado, where it's like, hey, you kind of could AJ Puck as a lefty that they could get out the pen as well could be something interesting. Are the Brewers willing to move on from any of their guys? A Trevor McGill. The Dodgers have so many arms. Or could you send them something? I don't know. We just talked about Munoz to the Phillies. The Yankees should give a call. Who'd you say?
Tanner Scott. Would you eat his contract from the Dodgers since he's not pitched very well? And they probably would get out of it at this point.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, there's no salary cap, so I would say yes, but the Yankees have self-imposed salary cap, which if you eat the Scott contract, you're just essentially saying, like, definitely goodbye to one of Weaver or Williams. Do you want to do that? I mean, I'm sure you want to get rid of Williams, but
Williams is destined to pitch in Philadelphia.
Pete Fairbanks is another name that I'd look at as
I don't
a
know if
potential.
the Rays are going to look to sell, though.
Yeah, well,
that's the issue with the expanded playoffs is
they're always looking to sell, though, even when they're good. Like, it's just a name that I would look at. The guy's got a 2.34 ERA this year. He's got 15 saves, so he could become your closer as well. A name that I'd look at if I'm the Phillies. Do you try and buy low on a Felix Bautista? I mean, the guy's just a monster of a human being. But again, in division, it's tough to get one of those to go. A Kyle Finnegan on the Nationals, something to look at. Emilio Pagan, if the Reds are just truly selling off the bullpen. Yeah, there's names out there.
There's names out there. A name I liked last year that they should have was Camilo Doval.
Yeah, the Giants. What is it? Rogers as well. He throws just absolute gas, if I'm not mistaken. Tyler Rogers. He's on that. So
now Doval's playing much better this year, and I don't think that he would be a trade option. But he's somebody
not
who
with
I
how
think
good they are.
But he's somebody I think they should have bought low on in the past. But there's a lot out there.
Do you think there's any world in which Cleveland moves off of Class A, fourth in the AL Central, 7 games under 500?
Absolutely. I think it's a possibility that Class A is on the board. I think that they have other arms that they like. Relievers, you know how it is. They have one bad year and they're over a lot of times. Like, they're very fickle. It's rare to find a reliever that's so dominant for years on years, and that's why Rivera was a special case. You get them every so often, but, they're cyclical. They'll have a stretch of 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 years where they're the top end guys, and all of a sudden it's a very steep fall off.
Yeah, Shelby Miller's another name. He's on the 15-day IL, but he's pitched really well at the bullpen for Arizona this year, a 1.98 ERA. Is that a guy that you could potentially go after and acquire? Could you potentially go out and buy one of their bullpen arms? If it's not him, I mentioned AJ Puck. He's at a 3.38 ERA right now for them. He's only had 8 innings of work this year. So he's on the 60-day IL, but again, a guy that could be back potentially for a playoff run. Something to monitor. I don't love it. But you got to look at the teams that you think could be potentially selling.
What about buying on Mason Miller? He's got a 4.41
yeah,
right.
Like, if you can, for sure. Any bullpen arms are worth taking a shot on if you're the Yankees that have shown promise.
Like, last season was Miller's only real good year. out of the 3 years he's been in the league.
I think it all depends on the price too, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the asking price?
Like, he's got a lot of controllability left.
But similar to what I said about the Phillies, I don't believe the Yankees can go on a run and win multiple close postseason battles with the current bullpen.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely
like there were guys like a Tommy Kahnle was huge for them last year. They just don't have that guy anymore.
Imagine not bringing back Kahnle because him and Devin Williams' main pitch are both the same pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, and obviously Detroit's doing well with Kahnle, so is what it is. The Yankees got to go after bullpen, and I hope that they get an everyday starting third baseman. The Oswaldo Cabrera injury really sucks right now because he's a guy that I would love to have be the everyday third baseman, switch hitter at this point in time, real good vibes guy.
Get him actual, at bats, let him be consistent. Pitch.
Third base, relief, and I would try to bring in an arm, maybe a reunion with Severino. Again, like you also got to look at these deals where maybe because I don't think the Yankees want to make a ton of different moves. So is there a deal where you can get 2 for 1? Can you get Mason Miller and Severino in the same deal? Can you get Eugenio Suarez and Shelby Miller in the same deal? Can you get Zach Gallen and Suarez in the same deal? Can you get, the Presley or Helsley, excuse me, and Arenado in the same deal? Because I don't think they want to make a bunch of different deals. Can you get Brian Hayes and David Bednar in the same deal? I don't love Hayes, but it's better. Everything's better than like any guy that's an everyday starter is better than what they have right now.
Yeah, and I think looking to double up, might save you a little bit in the prospects in the long term. I would love to bring Sevy home. That's like the one thing I never understood where Met fans were like claiming him. Like he left on great terms with the Yankees organization and the Yankee fans. Like I don't think there's any Yankee fans that think ill of Sevy. It was time for him to leave when he left. But he was somebody that
now
really
it's time to come back.
Right, gave his all. There was no, issues. But let's go a little studs and duds action. For me, my stud, Blue Jays third baseman in that 10-game, winning streak. 6 of those games, he's got 8 hits, 22 at bats. For those 8 hits, 3 home runs, 2 walks, stole a bag. He's got 11 RBIs. He's hitting .364 with a 1.281 OPS. Really solid work for Barger. Not really a household name, especially in a lineup that's got Bichette, Vladdy, Kirk, Springer. And then my dud is a Dodger. Dodgers pitcher Noah Davis. He pitched in 1 game over the last week. Went 1 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 10 earned runs. 2 of them were home runs, walked 3, struck out 3. His ERA is 67.5. And batters are hitting 600 against him. If that's not a dud, I don't know what is.
Yeah, pretty dud. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I double Yankeed up this week. My stud, Aaron Judge. Peeling back the curtain. Corey asked me, is Aaron Judge like worthy of it? I don't know. He's batting 500 this week with 3 home runs. I understand that that's just a typical week for Aaron Judge, but we haven't picked him as a stud in a while. Show him some love. Dud, a guy that I got to be honest, if the Yankees traded at the deadline, I wouldn't be upset. Anthony Volpe. He just hasn't lived up to expectations at this point in time, and he has just become such a net negative at the plate, and he's not the Gold Glove fielder he once was. In the last 7 days, 3 for 26 in his last 26 at bats with 5 strikeouts. He's just a hole in the lineup at this point. It's easy out. Like that's how it feels at this point when Anthony Volpe's coming up to the plate.
I was having a conversation with a friend today, and I said I'd like to see Peraza get more time at short, let them split time because Volpe hasn't done anything to earn the role to start now. Yeah. And he said Peraza's an auto out. And I was like, is Volpe anything different than that? He's got the name value to the fans, but he's been
Man, I mean, how much is Volpe worth to the Diamondbacks, huh? You just do one big trade with them, Gallen, Perdomo, and Suarez for a bunch of prospects.
we might have to convince them to throw in Ketel Marte to really sweeten it for us.
Oh, yeah, really sweeten it for us.
John, who do you guys your stud and dud?
I'm going to start with my dud this week is Nolan Shanuel from the Angels. He's 5 for 30, 1 home run, 4 RBIs this past, week. And he's batting 167. Not very good. Even with the 4 RBIs, still not good. Now my stud, someone Corey already talked about a little bit already. Michael Bush, 14 for 27, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, has a 519 average, 567 OBP, and over 1,000 slugging.
Yeah, it's a really good day. Cubs, they have a chip on their shoulder with a couple guys that should be all-stars that aren't. Weekly series highlight now. Usually we have a week's worth of games to choose from. Now we only have half a week's worth, just one series from each team. You have the Home Run Derby, the AL/NL All-Star Game, in addition to the AL/NL Futures Game coming up. Those are all things to note. I could not care less about the Celebrity Softball Game. I don't know about you guys. It never is interesting.
Forgot about that.
I don't know why they do it. I don't know who watches it. If somebody watches it, let me know, because I feel like not a single person on earth has ever sat down and the Celebrity All-Star Game's on. Let me grab my beer, let me grab my chips. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, more like let me grab my Tylenol PM and pass out for the night.
Honestly, though, I want to highlight though Mets playing at the Royals, living in the New York area. Met fans still harbor deep hatred and resentment for the Royals. This goes back to that 2015 World Series. They need therapy because they harp on this series so much. They care more about that 2015 World Series loss than I feel like Yankee fans do about the 2024 World Series loss versus the Dodgers. I don't have that deep-seated hatred for the Dodgers beating us in the World
I
Series.
think Mets fans probably feel like they were the better team. I don't think many Yankees fans left last year's World Series thinking we were the better team.
I left the last year's World Series thinking that we could have definitely actually won the World Series with a couple different decisions. But
yeah, I think it's possible, but I think you lose in 5
early.
I mean, I don't know. That game 5 really sealed it for me. That we were just not deserving.
I mean, game 1, putting in Nestor Cortez over Tim Hill.
I didn't love. I mean, we could rehash
everything, but
I didn't love it.
Royals 2015 World Series rematch. A decade later, none of the same guys still playing, but those fan bases, they don't forget.
No, my weekly series highlight: the Red Sox and the Rays, 2 teams that are jousting for AL wildcard position right now. I think it could be really interesting as we head into the deadline. I think this series could potentially determine both teams' direction. The Red Sox getting pretty hot. They're on a 5-game win streak, 8-2 in their last 10, 3 games above 500. When you look at the wild card spot, they're just 1 game out behind the Mariners. Tampa's half a game up on the Mariners. So, that series could flip Tampa out of the playoffs, the Red Sox into the playoffs. Can't believe I'm saying this, but your boy has a futures bet on Cubs, Phillies, Yankees, Red Sox all to make the playoffs. So I know who I'll be rooting for.
My weekly series highlight's going to be Dodgers at the Giants. You got, Giants are only 5.5 games behind the Dodgers. And actually, the Giants, I think, have actually been playing very well this season. Have been having a really great season, I think, better than a lot of people thought they'd be having. So, I mean, they have a chance here to, catch up on some games here and really, take a shot at first place.
Could be similar to that season a couple of years ago where they both won 100-plus games. And the Giants, if they get hot at the right time here.
Very, very possible. Guys, any final thoughts as we wrap up our last episode of the first half of the season?
I'm tired.
You're tired?
it's,
It's a long season. We're 90 plus games in already.
Yeah, it is a long way to go too in the back half, and I'm really excited for the deadline to kind of get a better picture of where these teams are at. Maybe post deadline, we could do like a tier list podcast where we put each team into a tier or something, and people watch
Yeah.
along that way.
I think that sounds like a good idea, something we'll look into because, with the expanded playoffs, a lot of teams that probably aren't deserving make the playoffs. Really limits what the deadline can do to help a team. Who knows if some of those moves in the past that have been made do get made now? Like, does Cespedes ever become a Met, and does that run ever happen? Does CC ever become a Brewer? Things like that. But that'll do it here for us. Dylan, Mel, John, Pauline, Corey, Jason, signing off. See you guys next time after the All-Star break.